everyone, so I'm Eunice and welcome to another series of project analysis review, and for today we will be reviewing ELTA. So this is actually how ELTA looks. As you can see, it is a 2 towers of 39 stories, quite similar to actually like the Ori which just launched recently. Then this view that you see here, right, is actually taken from AYE. So the multi-story car park as well as the pool is actually towards the AYE. So I feel like developers did this so as probably to reduce the noise. The setback here is probably about approximately 55 to 57 meters to the blocks from AYE. Some fact sheet on ELTA. As you can see over here, it is a joint venture between MCL Land as well as CSE Land. So 2 towers of 39 stories, 1 basement car park as well as 3 stories multi-story car park. 2 blocks over here, and then we have 501 residential units, 80% car park lots, so that brings us to about 401. And then the notice of vacant possession is actually 31st March 2029. Okay, so I think MCL is a name that is known to many. They are reputable developers with good track record. So some projects that they've done recently is Nava Grove, Tembusu Grand, Leiden Green, as well as Piccadilly Grand. So actually for today, right, we will be analysing ELTA's floor plans as well as their price predictions. To predict their price, we're actually going to use Nava Grove, which was also developed by MCL Land. Using their pricing strategy, we're going to try and see whether we can predict ELTA prices as well. So we also have CSE Land, also a renowned developer. They have done projects such as Twin View, which is a 36 stories development, 2 blocks as well. So this is actually the location map of ELTA. So if you look at it, right, this is actually where ELTA is located. Just looking at it itself, you can see that ELTA is actually located around an education hub. Evidently, from the supply of schools that's actually in this area, we have a good range of education levels, ranging from primary to secondary to tertiary as well as international levels. So what does this mean? This actually means that ELTA being in Clementi, right, is actually translate to good local as well as good pool of tenants in that sense. So in fact, actually if you look at around the West Coast area, right, generally around August or September, that's where your tenant pool also start to come in, because these are the students that actually are preparing for enrollment. So that's where you can, good time for you to catch the wave of tenant pool from there as well, being in the West Coast Clementi area. So ELTA is strategically located among good schools, as well as nearest MRT will actually be Clementi MRT. So these are some primary schools that are within 1 kilometers to ELTA. We have Clementi Primary, Pei Tong Primary that are within 1 kilometers, Nanhua, Qifa, as well as Fairfield Methodist and Henry Park will be within 2 kilometers of ELTA. Some secondary schools: NUS High School of Math and Science, Nanhua High, Clementi Town, ACSI, as well as Fairfield Secondary School. So not forgetting, we do have some world-class institutions as well, namely NUS, Singapore Polytechnic, ACS Independent, ACJC, SUSS, as well as School of Science and Technology. So all these schools here definitely shows that be in the rental market, you definitely get a good strong tenant pool from here. So if you look closely at this location map, you can see that where ELTA is located, we are also surrounded by hawkers as well as markets. So this is also because ELTA along Clementi, right, we have a lot of HDBs around us. So generally when you have a lot of HDBs, you also will have a lot of markets, a lot of hawkers, a lot of coffee shops. So these are also to cater to the HDB residents over there. So what are also some things that appeals to locals over here? You can see we have malls nearby is definitely an advantage. So you can get your groceries, ample amenities as well. So from this slide, you can see we have Clementi Mall, we have West Coast Plaza. These are a bit more heartland malls. And then we also do have other malls such as One Hollandby and Star Vista. We are also close to lifestyle and amenities option. Clementi area, I think they are known for their West Coast Park, Clementi Sports Hall, as well as Clementi Stadium. So this shows that ELTA being located where it's at, right? We have these kind of different options. So it's definitely an area that you can see strong organic local demand as well as strong tenant pool together with the education hub. So now that we have understood ELTA and its location a little bit better, let's look into its site plan as well as unit distribution. This is where ELTA is located. So if you look at it, it's actually situated between Clavon as well as Clement Canopy. Okay, let me just circle it. So this right here is Clement Canopy, and then right over here is Clavon. So ELTA is this middle plot over here. So actually interesting to note, ELTA is actually the first harmonized plot in Clementi, and so Clavon actually TOP in 2024, which was just last year, and then Clement Canopy on the other hand TOP in 2019. So actually once ELTA TOPs, right, it will be about a 4 to 5 years age difference from Clavon and about 9 to 10 years age difference from Clement Canopy. So personally, I've sold a unit actually at Clement Canopy facing the AYE side. So it will be quite interesting to see how ELTA will span out, and I'll share with you some of my thoughts later as well. This is the site plan of ELTA. So you can see, actually interesting thing to note, right? For ELTA, if you look at how the stacks are, right, each layout actually only has 1 stack, except for one layout type, which is our C1, our 3-bedroom. That's the only layout that has 2 stacks. So that's why I would say competition here will be quite rare, in the sense that, if you buy like a 2-bed 1-bath, there's only one stack that's catering to that 2-bed 1-bath. So you can see this is where it's overlooking at Clementi Avenue 1. That's actually the school facing side, that's Nanhua. And then over at AYE side, that will actually be the expressway facing units. Yeah, that's the site plan of ELTA. And now we have actually the views from how ELTA will look 40 stories high. So the first column that you see, this is actually the southwest facing, which is actually facing the AYE side. So you can see that actually when you're so high up at probably about level 39, you can actually see the sea from there, and you do get a good view. You're looking at the landed area, and then you look out beyond into the sea. Then of course at the bottom part, the bottom column, which is actually the northeast facing, that's actually towards the school, Nanhua High. So you can see over there, you still get a good sense of unblocked view as well. So just based off this facing, right, we cannot ascertain if developers will actually price the AYE facing units higher, because some people might be a little bit more sensitive to noise. So there may be a chance that since developers actually place the 5-bedroom types facing the AYE, there might be a premium there as well, although we can't confirm. So actually, when I was selling the unit at Clement Canopy level 39 facing AYE, it was actually not that noisy as I expected it to be. I think because noise travels up, right? Actually, the lower floors, such as maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, they are actually not as noisy as the mid floors, which is probably around 12, 13, 14, 15, because those middle floors levels units are actually noisier than the lower floor. But I feel that as you go high up, let's say you're above level 30, the noise does kind of like dissipate a little bit. So it's actually not as noisy as compared to the middle floors. So the lower floors, I feel, is a bit quieter because you have the trees and all that, and all the setback to really block away the noise. And the middle floor gets a little bit noisier than the lower floor. And the highest floor are actually a little bit quieter than the middle floors as well. So it'll be quite interesting to see how MCL will choose to price their units for AYE facing unit. Okay, this is also the unit mix of ELTA. So as you can see, the 1 and 2 beders actually make up about 43%, whereas the remaining bedroom types such as the 3, 4 and 5 beders, they make up about 57%. So it's a good ratio of investment as well as own stay unit types over here. So if you notice, like what I mentioned just now, each particular layout type actually only has one stack, except for C1 over here. That's the only layout type that actually has 2 stacks, which is 72 units. Every other layout actually only has 35 or 36 units. Okay, so now that we have analyzed ELTA's site plan as well as unit mix, let's have a look at our price analysis as well as predictions. So, like what I mentioned earlier, Naba Grove is also developed by MCL Land. So we'll be using the prices that launched earlier in November to try and see if we can notice how developers price their units, and then see if we can try to predict ELTA's prices from there. So this is actually how we've studied the prices, and using Naba Grove as a reference, you can see that this is how their 2-bed 1-bath at 624 square feet did their pricing. So Naba Grove is also a harmonized plot of land. So 624 for a 2-bed 1-bath is a good size, quite similar to what we see at ELTA. So the pricing strategy here, right, is that you see that there is a 8,500 floor jump, 8,500 per floor jump, which brings us to about a 0.6% premium. And then if you realize on the 8th floor, there's actually a 2 times, so it's 8,500 times 2, which brings us to 1.2% premium. And here, level 8 and level 9, they actually maintain the same price before going up at 0.6 again, 0.6 again. Then at level 12, there's actually a higher premium here, which you can notice it is at about 1.65% before jumping by another 8,500, 8,500, 8,500, all the way to level 18. So you notice over here, there'll be a 3% jump, and then level 18 and level 19 are actually of the same price. So this was how we analyzed Naba Grove's pricing and how developers choose to price from level 2 all the way to 24, how they choose to keep their pricing strategy. So in total, I would say that we have 19 floors of 0.6% premium, 1 floor of 1.65, and 1 floor of 3%. So the total premium here from the 2nd floor all the way to the 24th floor is actually about 16.05%. Looking over here at the 2-bedroom, 700 square feet, same pricing strategy developers MCL they did as well. So it's also 8,500 per floor, which is approximately about 0.54%. And here they actually have a small jump at the 5th floor before jumping again 8,500, 8,500. And then on the 8th floor here is also a times 2 jump, so at 1.08% before putting level 8 and level 9 the same. And then similarly, 12th floor, 18th floor, another jump, and then 18 and 19 is actually the same price. So we'll be using these numbers here for our price prediction for ELTA, just to see like where we can predict from the 4th floor all the way to the 39th floor what the pricing will be like. So total premium here is about 17% for our 2-bed 2-bath. And then for the 3-bedroom compact that you notice, for the pricing strategy is also the same. They have it at 10,500 per floor, which translates to about 0.6%. And then on the 8th floor, you have a 1% jump. Similarly, they maintain the prices for level 8 and level 9, jumping at level 12, level 18, maintaining again at level 18 and 19 before coming to a total premium of 16.6. So ELTA being slightly taller than Nava Grove, right? It stands at 39 stories. So here they stop at like 18, 19 and 24. So we do believe that there might be one more price jump, which could probably be on maybe the 28th floor, and then they will maintain it at maybe at 28 and 29, and then perhaps they could jump once more, once you cross the 30 floor mark. We are not sure, but we do believe that likely there will be one more jump. So now that we have analysed the pricing strategy that MCL used for Nava Grove, and then trying to see whether they will implement the same thing for ELTA, now let's have a look at their bedroom types. So we'll start off their 1-bedroom, which is their 1 plus study layout. So looking at this 1 plus study layout, you can see that it stands at 506 square feet. It is stack 10. There's only one stack and it's actually facing the school. So looking at the floor plan itself, you can see that the study looks like a decent size. There's a separate washer and dryer away from the kitchenette. And then of course there's a Jack and Jill toilet, so you still get your privacy for the master bedroom. And you have a proper dining area over at the dining space as well. So actually looking at this, it looks like it's a good layout type. And actually Clavon has a 1 plus study layout type at 527 square feet, and that's actually pre-harmonized. So ELTA standing at 506 square feet post-harmonized, I do think that it is quite a good size. And if you look at how developers have actually done the layout, if you want to enclose the kitchen, you can actually choose to do so by maybe putting a partition here or a sliding door, so then your study can also become part of your storage area or even your pantry, so giving the kitchen a little bit more space while still having your dedicated maybe dining table over here, and then you still have your living space, good wall-to-wall distance as well. So looking at this 1 plus study layout, and then how some people feel that actually 1 plus study layout might not actually make much profits, but actually when we study the past transactions of what have actually been transacted in Clavon, so you can see here they have already done sub-sales. The average profits that you're looking at, actually they range from 120k all the way to 230k. Actually for a 1 plus study layout, this is a very, very decent size profit, I feel, especially if this is just after 3 years. It's quite good annualized gains. So the thing about Clementi Area is that it has a good strong tenant pool. So a lot of investors, they like to actually invest in Clementi side. They like to invest in the 1-bedders, 2-bedders, or maybe even the 3. And you can see from here, the 1-bedroom at Clavon actually has a very strong rental, which is averagely at around 3,500, 6, and sometimes even hitting 3,700. So like what I mentioned earlier, due to this, it being near an education hub, it shows that 1-bedders, even the 1 plus study, they have good strong rental transactions. Now let's do a price prediction for low floors as well as high floors of ELTA. So looking at this, we do believe that the starting from might probably be around 2,200 PSF. So that will put you at about 1.113 mil for a 1 plus study. Now if we were to go up to level 20, adopting what MCL did for Nava Grove and how they did their pricing strategy, we did 13 floors multiplied by 0.6% premium as well, adding a 1.6% jump as well as a 3% jump up to the 20th floor. That brings you to be about 1.25. And for level 39, that brings you to about 1.418. So averagely, you're looking at maybe about 2,800 PSF for the highest floor unit. So assuming an average rental yield of 3,500, you can see over here, that brings you to a 3.8% rental yield for a low floor, 3.3% rental for mid floor, and a 3% rental for a high floor. So some people might say then, it's like it might feel a little bit low, but even if level 20 and level 39 are able to achieve higher rentals of 3,600 and 3,700 respectively, your rental yield will probably be at 3.5 as well as 3.1. So it's still not that bad in that sense. And at the end of the day, it's also down to your ballot number. So it's like some people always want to buy low floor first because it brings back a higher ROI, But at the end of the day, if your ballot number is not that good, being able to buy into a 1 plus study unit, even though you're high floor, you can still get a good rental yield. And at the end of the day, being a higher floor, let's say if you're asking for a rental price of 3.7, then the low floor is also asking for a rental price of 3.7. Well, the advantage of you being on a higher floor is that definitely you'll be able to rent out your unit faster, because if high floor and low floor were going to be at the same price, naturally the tenant pool will prefer the high floor. There's no difference in price. So that in that sense, that will also shorten your vacancy period and you'll be able to rent out your unit much faster. So at the end of the day, being able to get a unit is still better. At least you can start on your investment journey and see where it takes you. Okay, so now let's go to their 2-bedroom layout. So for ELTAs, we do have quite a bit of 2 bedrooms. We actually have 5 different layout types, but they are not all that different. You know, it's a 2-bed 1-bath, a 2-bed 2-bath, and a 2+ study. Okay, this is the first layout type, which is the 2-bed 1-bath. B1 and B2. So looking at the floor plans itself, actually the only difference between these two, right, stack 11, which is on the B1, and B2, which is stack 7, is one is facing the school as well as one is AYE facing. They are both dumbbell layouts, similar sizes for rooms, tuck away kitchen. In fact, if you look at B2, right, it feels like B2 have a little bit more privacy because the doors between the common bedroom as well as the master bedroom is a little bit more staggered. So there's a little bit more privacy for bedroom 2 in that sense, and both rooms are not looking at each other directly. Over here, the key thing for 2-bed 1-bath, right, for a lot of investors, I mean, at the end of the day, you guys are going for rental yield. So of course, if developers were to actually price the AYE facing units, which is B2 stack 7, lower than the school facing ones, which is stack 11, then definitely it will make sense for you to go for a B2 layout first before the B1. So I would think like the strategy that you can have is like going for a B2, the AYE facing side, low floor, maybe 5 to 15 first, and then after that going to B1, 5 to 15, before moving on back to B2, going for the mid floors, maybe around 15 to 25, and then you go back to B1 again, 15 to 25, and at the end of the day, you go back to B2, 25 to 39 high floor, B1, 25 to 39 high floor. So the thing about being in a high skyscraper story development, right, the pricing from the lowest floor all the way to the highest floor, you're going to see a big jump. It's going to be a big difference. So you really need to know how to pick the correct unit and the correct price so that you get the most rental yield in that sense. And note that actually for this B1 and B2 unit types, right, halfway through, right, it might actually make sense for you to go for the next unit type already, which would actually be B3 or B4, which is our 2-bed 2-bath. So that's the one that's right over here. So you can see this one here, B3P as well as B4P. Similarly, one stack each, AYE facing and school facing. B3P is actually AYE facing. B4P is school facing. Same, they have a dumbbell layout, a nicely tucked away kitchen. B3P here does look like they have a little bit more privacy because the doors are a little bit more staggered as compared to B4P. So both living areas also give you a good dining space. So I really quite like both the 2-bed 1-bath as well as the 2-bed 2-bath layout. You can see it's really efficient use of space. You know, the dining area, you get properly sit a 4-seater, 6-seater there. You have a kitchen nicely tucked away as well. Not much wasted corridor space. So yeah, I think it's a good layout, and at the end of the day here, right, 2-bed 2-bath versus 2-bed 1-bath, there's not going to be a big difference in the rental quantum that you're going to get back. So for 700 square feet here versus our 2-bed 1-bath at 614 square feet, so that's 86 square feet for an additional toilet. At 86 square feet for an additional toilet, right, if I were to start from 2,200 PSF, right, that will actually put you at a price difference of 1,890 for 86 square feet. The difference between the 2-bed 1-bath and the 2-bed 2-bath. So for one additional toilet, you are paying 189k more. Well, then you will need to see whether the extra rental quantum that you're going to get would make you sense. And otherwise, I feel like the 2-bed 1-bath might be a little bit better in terms of rental yield. Then the last layout type that we have for the 2-bedroom is actually our 807 square feet. So this is actually the show flat type. And to be honest, when I first went into the show flat, right, I was like, wow, it's really very big and it's really very nice. I think key thing here, right, is because you see the dining area over here is very, very, very spacious. At 807 square feet, this is super big for post-harmonized. It can be almost like a 3-bedroom compact already. The Ori, which launched 18 January, right, their 3-bedroom compact were at 850 square feet. So imagine how big this 2+ study is. It's like if you go to the show flat, the moment you enter through the main door or even through the balcony, you see the dining space is like really super spacious. I think you can put like a long dining table here, maybe even 6-seater. Also, I think it shouldn't be a problem. So it's really very super spacious. You have a dedicated dining area, generous master bedroom size. But the downside to this is that at 807 square feet, and then with your 3-bedroom compact at 926 square feet, then the price difference becomes really quite small. The 3-bedroom compact, right, it stands at 926 square feet. So this brings us to a size difference of about 119 square feet. At 119 square feet, let's say, assuming you go mid-floor lah. So let's go about maybe 2,500 PSF. So that brings you to around 297,500. For 297,000, you get a proper bedroom, a bigger kitchen, windows in both your bath and your kitchen. So I feel like if you do have the budget for it, it might make sense for you to go preferably for the 926 square feet 3-bedroom first, before you go for the 2+ study. But at the end of the day, this 2+ study layout, very, very generous. If you're actually buying for Onte at Clementi and you're a young couple, maybe one kid, this, I feel, will actually fit what you might need as well. Good study size, kitchen, good size bedroom. And so, very, very spacious. I feel like with how big the dining area is, right, you can actually even do additional storage along the wall here as well. So that will also fill up the lack of storage here at most 2-bedders. Okay. Now, following what we have, let's try to see whether we can predict the 2-bedroom price. So following the same pricing strategy that we learned from Nava Grove, this is how the pricing strategy will look like, starting from 2,200 PSF. So you can see level 4 for the 2-bed 1-bath. Okay, so I used all AYE facing units, so it's all B2, B3P, as well as B5S. So the 2-bed 1-bath at 614 square feet will bring you to be about 1.35 mil. Mid-floor will bring you to be about 1.519. And then highest floor will maybe around 1.7. And then for the 2-bed 2-bath, you're looking at starting from about 1.4. And then level 2 about 1.7. The highest level about 1.9. So going to the 2+ study, because of how big it is, you're looking at starting from probably about 1.775. Mid-floor 1.99. And then highest floor 2.2. So just looking at this price predictions that we have, you can see that at a certain stage, the 2-bed 1-bath, the mid-floor, is very, very similar to the 2-bed 2-bath low floor. Similarly, the high floor will be very, very similar to the mid-floor. And then same for the 2-bed 2-bath as well as the 2+ study. A mid-floor 2-bed 2-bath can probably get you a low floor 2+ study. And then also a high floor 2-bed 2-bath can also then give you a mid-floor 2+ study. So at the end of the day, it's also really down to your ballot number and how we can best strategize for you to get the unit most ideal for your objective, be it for rental, own stay, or capital appreciation. Knowing how to choose the correct unit is definitely very, very important. Now, let's also then look at, of course, what has been transacted. So you can see over here, this is Clavon, the 2-bed 1-bath here, right, at 678 square feet. They have actually surpassed the 2,000 PSF. So which is why actually we feel that Clavon, being TOP 2024, pre-harmonized, the price gap between Clavon and ELTA can actually be quite small if developers do price it correctly. So of course, if they do, and then you see a small price gap, there will definitely be advantages for buyers in today's market. And for 2-bed 2-bath, these are what has already been transacted. So they have also hit close to 2,200 PSF. You can see 2,183, 2,169, 2,159. So very, very, very good prices for ELTA if developers were really to price it at around 2,200 PSF starting from. So all these, it translates to definitely opportunities for you as a buyer. So definitely ELTA, I feel, is worth having a look at because of how harmonization has played an important part in getting you better quantum play. So we've also noticed that, right, the 2+ study at 807 square feet at ELTA, if we were actually to compare to Clement Canopy as well as Clavon, there are actually no similar comparison. So even though we feel that the 2+ study type is actually very close to the 3-bedroom type, actually you're looking at the 2+ study layout, there's nothing for you to compare it with. So it could actually be advantageous for you in the resale market, though your rental yield might not be as strong. Because at least you are kind of like one of a kind. There's no like 2+ study at Clement Canopy or Clavon. Since we don't have 2+ study transactions to compare at Clement Canopy or Clavon, we have taken another new launch called The Hill at One North. They do have a 2+ study layout at 786, 764 square feet, which is pre-harmonized. So looking at that, right, their PSF is already hitting at 2,600 PSF. So this also means that this kind of PSF, right, is kind of like a market acceptance that buyers are already kind of accepting this kind of prices in today's market. Okay, so lastly, we're going to do a summary of our 2-bedroom types. We have the 2-bed 1-bath versus the 2-bed 2-bath and the 2+ study. So I have ranked them in this order that you've seen. The 2-bed 1-bath is first, the 2-bed 2-bath is second, and then the 2+ study is third. So this is because I feel that coming from an investor point of view, it will make more sense for you to get the bang out of your buck. So going for the layout types in this order will probably get you the best yield. But of course, not forgetting like what we mentioned, ELTA being a 39 stories development, you are going to be strategic in your floor choices. So you really need to know like at what point should you go for the other layout type in that sense, so that you really fully utilize your ballot number. Okay, so now let's come to the 3-bedroom layout. So for ELTA's 3-bedroom layout, right, it's actually quite straightforward. You only have two kinds, C1 and C2P. Okay, so this is the only layout that has two stacks, stack 4 and stack 9, and they are actually both facing the school. 926 square feet, 72 units over here. So looking at the floor plan closely, you can see that there's a good foyer area over here, so you kind of have your privacy at the entrance. There are windows in both the kitchen as well as the bath over here. And there is also an enclosed kitchen, so you see there's a door over here as well, so you can choose to enclose the kitchen. But however, of course, it being a 3-bedroom compact at 926 square feet, there's no yard and no store all, but this kind of size, right, is actually really good for HDB upgraders. So why do I say that? Because at 926 square feet, if you were to multiply it by 2,200 PSF, that would bring you to about 2.037 mil. So this is a very good entry price for HDB upgraders, because if you look at around Clementi, the HDB there are already hitting $1 million. So definitely for HDB upgraders to sell their Clementi HDB at 1 mil and then to upgrade into a 2 mil property, likely the loan to value as well as the down payment will be quite palatable for them. So this layout type, definitely HDB upgraders will like. However, the only downside I can feel that HDB upgraders might not like for this layout type is that because they are very used to maybe like 93 square meters. So that brings you to be about 1,001 square feet, right? So they might feel that they don't have a yard, because you know HDBs, they usually have the service yard. So this one, they don't have a yard, they don't have a bomb shelter, they don't have a store, so they might not be used to it as well. In that sense, they might actually prefer the 1,023 square feet for ELTA's 3-bedroom premium. So this one, 926, but good entry price. Only downside is that you're going to have maybe a bit more competition in the resale market since there are 2 stacks. Of course, then we have also done a comparison of the 926 square feet versus Clement Canopy as well as Clavon. So looking at this here, Clement Canopy stands at 990 for their 3-bed 2-bath. It's a traditional layout. It also has a foyer area, then it also has windows in the kitchen and bath. But the downside here is that there's actually an additional balcony over here, which in the master bedroom, so some people might feel that this is kind of like a bit of a wasted space. They don't really need the balcony over there. And then over at Clavon side at 958 square feet, also a traditional layout, a bit bigger kitchen, no yard as well, and also they don't have a window over at bath 2. So in a sense, ELTA's 926 is really compact and efficient. You know, Jack and Jill entrance for bathroom 2, and then still a good size in that sense because the bedrooms are actually all not facing the same facing. So this is the other layout type for the 3-bedder at ELTA. So you can see this one is C2P. It stands at 1,023 square feet, stack 2. So this is actually facing the schools. So all the 3 bedrooms are actually school facing, which is why we will be like, I thought maybe they will have a bit of a good mix in that sense, but I guess developers have all the 3-bedders face the school, the 4 and the 5 and the 2s are actually facing the AYE facing. Okay, so for this 3-bedroom, 1,023 square feet, good dumbbell layout, dry and wet kitchen over here, so you can see the study room can also be flexible. The common bath has no window, which is this one here, but actually if you look at, because of how it's dumbbell, right, this area here can actually become as a junior master bedroom. So actually, if you have one kid, right, and you want to kind of reconfigure this, I feel there's quite a few ways that you can do. You know, if you can seal up the wall over here, then so the study kind of becomes like the storeroom. And then actually, you can shift the master bedroom door to be over here. So then this entire area here actually acts as your master bedroom. So you have like your master bedroom with a walk-in wardrobe, and at the same time, if you have one kid, and then you can have that kid have a junior master bedroom in that sense, yet you still convert the study into a store, and then you have a good WC, dry and wet kitchen. So very, very good layout that we see over here because of how the dumbbell layout is. The dining is a good size, the living wall to wall and all that is a great size as well. So comparing the 1,023 square feet to Clement Canopy as well as Clavon, we have over here Clement Canopy at 1,141 square feet. It's also a 3-bed 2-bath plus study, similarly to the ELTA one. They have a foyer area with privacy over here. However, the good thing here is that actually they have a landscape living and dining area. So I feel like some people, they do like this whole landscape kind of feel in the living and dining because it feels a little bit more open, a bit more grand in that sense. So that's why this layout type, this landscape of the living and dining area do appeal to most people. And then they have a good yard and a good guest bedroom over here, which can actually double up as a store, or you know, can be anything that you want, can even be a study room. And then the 3 bedrooms are also all nicely tucked away at the side. For Clavon's 1,130 3-bed 2-bath, so it is just a 3-bedroom. There is no study, but they do have a store. So I think like the study in ELTA as well as the study in Clement Canopy is like a flexible space, can really also be a store. So traditional layout for Clavon, no Jack and Jill entrance for bathroom 2, wet and dry kitchen. So it's a good size store that can also convert to anything that you want. Helper's room, study room, whatever you like. So ELTA and Clavon, same, they don't really have much privacy. The moment you open the door, you can immediately look into the living and dining area, and that's what you can see the whole entire space. So now that we've seen the C1 as well as C2P of ELTA, let's have a look at their price predictions. So for C1, which is the 926 square feet, Stack 4 and 9 school facing, and then Stack 2 C2P 1023 square feet school facing as well. If we were to look at the starting from of 2,200 PSF, that brings us to about 2 mil for a 926 square feet. Very good, very palatable quantum size. Even if you're looking to rent, as an investor, if you're buying this for rental yield, I think you do get quite a substantial rental yield from this. Mid floor will bring you to be about 2.29, and then high floor will bring you to about 2.5 mil. For the 1023 square feet, you're looking at starting from 2.25 before going to about 2.5, and then highest level will be about 2.8. So if you can see from this, the low floor layout of the C2P actually would at some point be the matching price of maybe a mid-floor C1 layout. So that's when you know you really have to kind of decide which one is more important to you, floor level or layout. Okay, so now that we have kind of like taken a guess on the 3-bedroom price predictions, let's then look at what has been transacted in Clavon and whether it makes sense. So subsale transactions that have taken place in Clavon, their 3 bidders have hit as high as 3,200 PSF over here that you can see. And this is of course a 3-bedroom compact at 958 square feet, and this is on a high floor at level 36, which is why, like what we mentioned earlier, it being very, very close to Clavon, and if ELTA were to launch at a certain PSF, given that it's post-harmonized, it really brings about an opportunity for you to really enter into this Clementi area, into ELTA itself. Looking at what has been accepted by buyers in today's market, Hill at One North, for their 3-bedroom at 1087, 1098, 1012 square feet, they have already crossed 2,700 PSF in today's market, showing you that this is the kind of market acceptance in today. So now that we have also kind of guessed ELTA prices based off our predictions and what has already been transacted in the subsale as well as new launch market, this is how I would rank the 3-bedroom types in ELTA. First place would actually be the C1 type, 2 stacks, school facing at 926 square feet, simply because I feel that really given its size and its quantum play, it's quite a good use of space, and even at this kind of quantum, in the resale market, it will be very easy for you to exit as well. You enter at like 2 mil, 2.1 mil, 2.2. If you were to exit at 2.5, 2.6 mil, I think that's still quite acceptable in today's market. But of course, there's still a certain floor level, there's still a threshold you have to go before you should move to 1023 square feet, and then looking at the quantum that you're entering into. So I feel that because of harmonization, right, you shouldn't be too fixated on the PSF that you're entering into, but rather into the quantum itself and whether these quantums are acceptable and whether they will be acceptable when you choose to sell in the future. So now that we have seen the 1, 2 and 3 bedroom layouts, let's now also have a look at the 4-bedroom layout types. Okay, I also adopted the same Nava Grove reference for pricing strategy. The difference here is that the premium here is slightly smaller. It stands at 0.4% instead of previously it was around 0.6, right? Simply because at the end of the day, the percentage jump here will be smaller because the quantum is much bigger at hand. So the per floor jump is still at 12,500. So this is still quite a high jump actually, even though it brings you to a lower premium. So similarly, they have the same kind of pricing strategy. This is what they launched on launch day itself, and for Nava Grove. The 8th floor, there is also a premium here, and then the 9th floor is actually the same price. And then for the 12th floor, there is also another jump over here as well. And then on the 18th floor, another jump. So the 18th floor here that you can see, the jump was actually quite high. From 17 to 18, there was about $141,000 jump. So that brings us to be about 2.4%. But then of course, they also maintain the same price at level 18 as well as level 19. So looking at this pricing strategy from the 2nd floor all the way to the 24th floor, you get 17 floors of 0.4% premium, 1 floor of 2 times, 1 floor of 1.4, and then 1 floor of 2.4. So that brings us to a total premium of approximately 11.42%. So of course, similarly for ELTA, since it is 39 stories, we do expect it to have maybe 1 or even 2 more jumps in that sense. So these are the layout types here that we have at ELTA. So we have 4 different kinds of 4-bedroom layouts. We have the 1184 square feet, stack 8. This is AYE facing. And then the other one which you have is D2P. That's our 4-bedroom premium, 1313 square feet school facing. So both of them actually have the usual traditional layout where 3 bedrooms are facing the same facing and then 1 other bedroom is on the other side. The key difference here, if you were to compare both layouts, actually really just the junior master here. The 1313 square feet one has an additional toilet, whereas the 1184 square feet has just 4 bed, 2 bath. And then the 1313 has 4 bed, 3 baths. So that's really the key difference. So if we were to take 1313, minus 1184, that brings you to about 129 square square feet, and if you were to multiply that by the starting from PSF of 2,200, that brings you to about 283,800 for one additional master bath, a junior master bath toilet. So whether you think that appeals to you, it's up to you, because at the end of the day, maybe you do prefer the school facing because you want it to be a little bit quieter in that sense. Then of course, yes, if you're buying for own stay, some people will choose to pay that premium as well because they do want the additional toilet. They don't mind the quieter facing. So this kind of quantum difference is something that they are willing to part with. And also looking at the 1184 square feet in terms of quantum, right? A low floor 1184 square feet could actually also be almost comparable to our high floor 1023 square feet for the 3-bedder. Take that into consideration when you are with your ballot number at ELTA. Be sure to really notice all these key differences before really choosing the correct unit. So that is the D1 as well as D2P for ELTA. The next unit type that they have, right, is actually the 3-bedroom dual key. So quite interesting here that they actually did a dual key layout. So you have your studio here on one side, and then you have your traditional 3-bedroom on the other side over here. So for the dual key unit, the rental might make sense if you're an investor, because if you look at the 1-bedroom side, you can rent it out for maybe perhaps around $3,600, and for the 3-bedroom side, you can rent out at maybe about $6,300, and that brings you to a total quantum of $9,900. Assuming that the PSS starts from 2,200 at 1313 square feet, that brings you to a quantum of 2.88 mil. That actually brings you to a rental yield of 4%. So 4% is actually really quite strong, I would say, for rental. Average rental is usually about 2.8 to 3.2%. So coming in at 4%, if you're an investor, it definitely will make sense to you. But however, do note that I do think that it might be difficult to exit in the future. As with most dual keys, if you're buying for maybe investment first and you don't mind staying in there eventually, then I think it still might make sense. Then you can hold out for a little bit longer. This kind of dual key layouts, right, are also actually good for families who actually want to start out as maybe a 3-bedder first. Like maybe they do know that at the end of the day, they will want to go into a 4-bedder, but they're looking to start off as a 3-bedder. Then they can get into this kind of dual key layout. They can also then rent out this studio site to help them with their mortgage before eventually when they're ready to scale up to a 4-bedder, then they go use the whole entire 4-bedroom. So that's the ELTA's 4-bedroom dual key. Then this is the last 4-bedroom type at ELTA. As you can see over here, it stands at 1,507 square feet, stack 13, AYE facing. So most of the 4-bedrooms are actually AYE facing. Only 1-bedroom type is actually facing the school. So which is why we feel not necessarily they will price the AYE facing units cheaper for the 2-bedders. The bigger layout type usually for own stay towards the AYE facing. Okay, so one stack as well. So assuming 2,200 PSF, you're looking at quantum of 3.315 mil. Looking at this layout type, you can see that it has a wide living and dining area, wet and dry kitchen. So some people really appreciate the whole wet and dry kitchen concept. And then of course, if you notice, this bath too has a Jack and Jill entrance. So this means that actually all bedrooms will actually have an ensuite toilet. So this one can link to this one, this links to both, and of course the master bedroom will link to the master bath. So looking at this layout type actually for the 4+ study, right, they are quite generous with the walk-in wardrobe over here, and also they actually have a his and her sink. So the only downside would be that preferably if developers have done like a private lift, that might have been a little bit better, because actually if we were to compare Clavon, they actually do have a private lift in their bigger unit types. So that might be a luxury that some people want. So looking at this here, yes, so this is the Clavon's one. ELTA's 4-bedroom plus study at 150 square feet, as well as Clavon 1582 square feet. You can see over here, Clavon one is a really kind of spacious and wide layout. They have a landscape living and dining area. They have the private lift, so once you come in, once you see, it's a big sense of space. Private lift is a luxury that, some people, they feel that this kind of quantum that they are paying for, that would be something that they want. They want exclusivity in that sense. So this Clavon's 4+ study layout, right, actually is really, really very nice also. I can see they have a good walk-in wardrobe over here, the master bath, they actually have a study over here. You can see that actually they link the study to the master bedroom. So then actually it also kind of like doubles up as like a walk-in wardrobe or a study. So junior master tucked away at the side, dumbbell layout for this Clavon's 4-bedroom premium. Very, very good size, 1582. Thing is that actually in Clavon's 4-bedroom premium, right, there's actually not much transaction as well. If we were to just look at the transaction that have taken place, we only have 2 transactions over here. They're at approximately around 3.3 mil. So you can see that would be the starting price of maybe ELTA's 4+ study, so probably around 3.3 mil as well. That would be the comparison I have for ELTA's 4+ study as well as versus was Clavon's 4-bedroom premium. Now, let's try to see if we can predict ELTA's prices based off Nava's Grove pricing strategy. So we have also used 0.4% here because as what we saw from Nava Grove, there are 2 and 3 bedders that actually use a 0.6 premium, whereas for the 4-bedroom unit types, they actually use a 0.4 premium simply because the quantum is higher. Starting at level 4 will bring you to about 2.6 mil for our 1184 square feet, mid-floor 2.8, highest floor 3 mil. And then for our D2P, which is our 1313 square feet, so these prices that you see, right? Because the 4-bedroom dual key is also the same size, but we don't know for sure whether developers will choose to actually launch them at the same kind of PSF or same prices. So for the dual key unit at Nava, right? So what happened is that Stack 14, which is actually the same facing as Stack 11, the developers did actually price them from the same PSF. So we are not too sure if they'll do the same for ELTA, but there is also a chance that developers will price this at a lower PSF for higher floors for the 4-bedroom dual key. Then if that's the case, then I feel that might be worthy consideration for yourself. Okay? So for the 4-bedroom plus study, similarly, you will start off at 3.3 mil before going up to 3.6 and then 3.9. So same as what we have deduced from the 2-bedrooms and the 3-bedrooms previously, you can see the same kind of similarities over here being in a 39-story development at level 20, mid-floor of your smallest 4-bedroom. You might want to consider the D2P, which is the 1313 square feet low floor. At the highest floor, you might actually also want to consider mid-floor. Similar for the 4-bedroom as well as the 4-bedroom plus study. This one, if you're going for the highest floor, then it might actually make sense for you to go for the 4 plus study as well. Because between these two, the square feet is a little bit bigger in terms of their difference, so that's why the quantum here is a little bit different as well. Based off the price predictions that we have and looking at the different layout types for the D1, D2P, D3 dual key as well as the D4S, this is actually how I have chosen to rank them. I would definitely feel that the 1184 square feet one makes the most sense, even if you're coming in from an own stay point of view, because this kind of quantum, this kind of size, very doable, very livable, good size bedrooms for all. They can probably all fit a queen as well. And then you still get a good store size before you decide on whether you want to go for the 1313 square feet one, where the main difference was really only just in the junior master. And then 4-bedroom dual key can be worth consideration if developers do choose to price their PSF strategically, and then I feel that you might be able to consider dual key before you decide on the 4 plus study, which is the biggest at 1507 square feet. Because with this kind of square feet and this kind of quantum, right, some people might choose to go into Clavon, the resale market, because they are at 1500 plus square feet as well, but they do come with a private lift and they do come with similar attributes. Walk-in wardrobe, bedrooms are all of a good size. So in that sense, in the resale market, your 4 plus studies competitor is quite strong with it being at Clavon. Now that we have seen the 4 different 4-bedroom types at ELTA, let's have a look at the 5-bedroom layout. So for the 5-bedroom, there is only one kind of layout, which is our E1. It stands at 1776 square feet. Stack 1, also AYE facing, which is why we'll be like, your biggest unit height is actually facing the AYE. So maybe developers really feel that the noise is not a deterrent, and however, they probably think that going higher up, and then that's where you can enjoy the sea view, that might be a higher advantage for homeowners as well, which is probably why they chose to put the bigger unit types AY facing. Because honestly, when I was selling the Clement Canopy unit on level 39, right, the view really quite very nice. Like all the way up, it's very, very windy, that's one. And you really look far enough, you can really see the sea, and it can be quite calming, That's why people like sea view, right? Because you can feel the ocean. So yeah, okay, so that is our 5-bedroom type at ELTA. It is facing the AYE facing. It has a large living dining space that you can see over here. The bedrooms are also generally bigger than what we have seen. The master bedroom, common bedrooms are all at 9.3, 9.7, so that's a very good size. 11.5 for the junior master. So the key thing here is that they actually have 2 junior master. So they have one over here, and they have another one over here. So to be honest, I feel 2 junior master bedrooms might feel a little bit redundant, because unless you're staying with like one in-law and then your parents, if not, like if your in-law stay in one, then which kid should you give for the second junior master bedroom? But other than that, I feel they have a good walk-in wardrobe as well, and they also have a his and her sink. So the downside here, similarly, I feel would actually be that if only developers had done a private lift, because if you look over at Clavon, at this kind of size, they actually do have a private lift in their 5-bedroom. So especially at this kind of entry price, 1776 square feet, 2200 PSF, looking at maybe about 3.9 mil. So at 3.9 mil, when you want to exit in the future at 4.4, 4.5 mil, you know, you're going to be targeting rich buyers. You're going to be targeting this group of buyers, what they can buy at 4.4, 4.5 mil. They would definitely want something that feels a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more exclusive in that sense. You know, they can also maybe buy like a landed in the West Coast area already, although it's probably like an original condition kind of landed lah. But that's why I feel that with this kind of quantum, this kind of size, developers, if they had done a private lift, that would have been really icing on the cake. But otherwise, some people might argue, however, at 1776 square feet, you really do get a full grand of the whole entire living dining area. So this is also the show flat type. And when I entered into the show unit, it also really felt very luxurious. Like, wow, like super big. Like the whole dry kitchen area, the whole dining area here, I think, you know, you can put those like round tables, you can put like many chairs around it, and then yet you still get a good spacious living and dining, living area, sofa area. So very good for hosting, because you really get the whole sense of space in this 5-bedroom. Okay, so let's compare then to Clavon's 5-bedroom. So Clavon's 5-bedroom is slightly smaller. It stands at 1690 square feet. And then the surprising thing is there is actually no resale transaction over here. So we really don't know how they're doing in the resale market. I guess at the end of the day, because when you are buying into a 5-bedroom, most people buy to stay as well. So that's why they are not too eager to sell. They are willing to move in, stay a little bit longer before they decide to transact. So this Clavon's 5-bedroom, as you can see, it does come with a private lift entrance over here. They have a landscape living and dining, so they really feel quite grand and luxurious. But then of course, if you were to compare to the space that ELTA has, ELTA's one might feel a little bit rectangular, a little bit bigger, whereas Clavon's one is probably just a little bit more squarish as well. So Clavon, only one junior master on the left hand side. The other bedrooms are all on the right hand side. Same kind of kitchen layout. Room sizes, I would believe they're all quite comparable. I also did a comparison with Park Clementis, which is a 5-bedroom at 1711 square feet. So if you were to look at the Park Clementis layout, right, not my favorite because it's a little bit too long. Yeah, but they do come with a private lift. So they have a private lift foyer over here. Then they also have a landscape living and dining area. Junior master is over on one side. I guess some people might say the good thing is that all bedrooms here have the same facing as the living and dining. So it might be a good view that you get to enjoy. But the trade-off is that then you get a really super long corridor over here, which some might feel is a bit of a wasted space. So to kind of like round it up here for the layout types, if you're an investor looking for maybe 1, 2 or even 3 bedrooms for rental yield, generally I would suggest that you should aim definitely for the lower quantum first. And then if you are kind of buying for own stay, be it the 3, 4 or even 5 bedders, and if your budget does allow, it would actually be okay for you to go for the high floor if you really want the view. Because at the end of the day, right, when you're buying for own stay, you want the whole entire vibes, the whole feel-good factor of being in an own stay high floor unit. And also when you want to sell in the future in the resale market, some own stay buyers, they are willing to pay a little bit of a higher premium because you're on a higher floor as compared to the lower floor. So high floor, you pay a higher premium, but when you sell, you might also be able to get a higher premium in that sense. So I've also done a quick facing analysis just to see whether over at Clementi's side, where we have Clavon, Clement Canopy and now ELTA, is there a key difference between high floor versus low floor, expressway versus non-expressway, and West Sun versus no West Sun? I've taken the transactions from Clavon as well as Clement Canopy for you to have a comparison. So this is Clavon's as well as Clement Canopy's transactions that have taken place, high floor versus low floor. So you can see, taking the same stack, different level, one at level 5 and one at level 27, there is a minimal jump in terms of profits. Some people feel that sometimes, you know, when you pay a higher premium and you go higher up, it means that it translates to lesser profits. Well, yes, that is true to a certain extent, because if you're talking about ROI, then it might seem a little bit lesser. But if you're talking about in terms of quantum play of how much profit you make, actually it is not that big of a difference. It is a marginal or minimal difference in the profits that you get. The profit difference here is actually only $60,000. Looking at Clement Canopy as well, if you were to look at level 38 versus level 11, so you can see here the profit difference is only at $61,000. So yes, of course, the lower floor did make more money, but at the end of the day, if a ballot number is not as good to get the lower floor unit, getting into the high floor unit still does give you a good, decent amount of profits. So at the end of the day, I think instead of just like keep hoping to get the best ballot number among all the new launches, right? We have Ori, now we have ELTA, then we have Parktown, and next we have Lentor Central Residences. As long as your ballot number is kind of like within the number of units available and it translates to you being able to get a unit of your choice, go for it. Because at the end of the day, if you keep trying and trying, then there's a chance that you might never enter into the market, and then you'll just be waiting and waiting. So yeah, so that's the high floor versus low floor. Then we also have the expressway versus the inner facing. So facing AYE versus non-facing AYE. So for Clavon, we are comparing two different stacks, stack 9 as well as stack 10 over here. So you can see that there is also a small margin of profit difference. The profit difference here is actually only at $2,000. And then if you look at Clement Canopy, inward facing versus outward facing, we have stack 13 as well as stack 3. So these two units, you can see that the profit difference is also only at $22,000. So this could probably also mean that maybe the people who buy into Clementi's side, even though the expressway facing is noisier, they are willing to trade that off for the view, which is why the expressway facing units, they still made good profits as compared to the non-expressway facing ones. And then lastly, we have another one which is called the West Sun versus the non-West Sun. Actually, if you look at the compass over here, right, the West Sun is over here. So actually for most of the West Sun units, right, they are also the ones that are facing AYE. But facing AYE, that also means that they are the ones that get the better view, the sea view. So if you look at the West Sun versus non-West Sun units, actually the profit difference is only at $60,000. And in fact, looking at Clavon, the 2-bedroom, between stack 3 and stack 6, stack 6, which is the west facing unit, actually made more money as compared to the non-West Sun one. Similarly, for Clement Canopy, there is a profit difference of $149K between the west-facing units and the non-West one. The West Sun unit actually profited higher than the non-West Sun unit. So over here, you can see a similar floor level and then these other units, and then you can see the profit that they have made. So quite interesting. I think it could really be down to the view and that people are willing to overlook the noise for the view that you can get. So I think based off this analysis of surrounding resale properties, I think it kind of reveals that regardless of floor level, high or low, facing expressway or quiet facing or exposure to the West Sun, all units actually still remain profitable with only slight variations in profit margins. So this could be really due to how in Clementi itself, I do believe that there is a strong demand for both own stay as well as rental, and there is not much supply over the Clementi area, and yet you have a lot of HDB upgraders, you have a lot of good schools, tertiary schools, world-class institutions. That's why people also want to stay in Clementi itself. So interestingly, all these less favorable attributes have achieved higher profits than what people consider most desirable. So the key takeaway here that I think we should all have is that at the end of the day, it's down to your timing of entry and of course securing the right entry price, which are far more crucial factors than floor level or facing. So if you need any advice, feel free to drop me a message and I'll be happy to assist you. And as of now, we do know that ELTA, the preview date will actually be on 7 February. And the booking day will actually be on 22nd February, so that'll be soon. So then that's also when we will of course know the actual prices from developers. For now, we don't have any starting from prices for developers yet, but I feel like once we do get starting from prices for them, we'll be able to gauge a little bit better on how the different unit types, different facing, different floor levels will be priced at. So that's it from me today. See you in the next project analysis review. Bye!